The thing is, in India, and I hope this takes nothing away from our human connection on any level, because I look at this as two souls speaking with each other. So I say this with a lot of caution. But when you're growing up in India, there's a lot of resentment towards like the British Empire from back in the day. I'm not even going to get into that conversation. But we're constantly spoken about everything that went on in India. I have never heard a British person speak about the flip side of the British Empire, where Britain and Europe in general rediscovered certain things about Oriental philosophy from India, and it traveled back to the West. I found that so fascinating. So could we like rewind a little bit in history? And again, this is not a conversation about colonialism or anything like that. I'm just trying to understand it from the perspective of your predecessors.
Sure.
Because most of Britain, I think all of Britain was Christian at that point. And that's the impression that Indians have about Britain for the last 250 to 300 years. All of Europe, not just Britain. You're saying that, no, there was also this community of occultists.
Yeah.
Is there a difference like between Christianity and, I don't know what you'd call this other faith?
Occultism in the modern world is often seen as being anti-Christian, as being opposed to the religious systems that we have, particularly because Christianity has, despite its benefits, there have also been like a lot of problems with the faith and the way that it's impacted on people's freedom to live their lives, and the way also that it's constructed spiritual reality into a black and white approach where there is good and there is evil. And that kind of hard duality is something that magical practitioners are not necessarily very fond of. But the practice of magic in the West has also been framed in Christian terms for a long time. Most of our traditions, most of the things that even people would think of visually as being black magic, a magician in a circle, like calling a demon, for example. This is originally a very Christian form of magic. So we've come through a lot of problems with Christianity, and we've been influenced extremely strongly by the empire that England once had because of those people who've come to India and of the English people who travelled to other places and brought back their knowledge with them. So whether that's voodoo practitioners talking to practitioners because they now live in London and are interacting with them and exchanging notes, whether that's the Indian traditions which came back, particularly through many of our magicians previously traveling to India, learning from the Indians and seeing the things that we have missing. Because what we have in Europe is a broken tradition. We don't have all of the pieces.
Why?
Well, largely because of the impact of Christianity on like extinguishing all of the pagan religions that existed in Europe before that. So all of the animism, all of the gods, all of the sense of the sacred, a lot of this was considered to be forbidden. This was all considered to be under the realm of the devil. So it made it very difficult for us to do things like look at the body, because Christianity is very often opposed to the body and opposed to the truths of the body and opposed to sexuality. So all of these areas have been oppressed. They've become occulted, going back to the start of the conversation, that they've been driven underground. So these kind of darker areas are the areas that we've had to go into and find light. And when we find that there's no body tradition, we've looked globally and we've taken from Indian traditions, we've learned from these places, we've learned from Taoism, we've learned from a whole host of cultures in order to find the pieces that are missing in our culture. And India's been an incredible wellspring for that.